absolutely listen to what we hear at these budget town halls, and when we especially get to those final decisions after we've heard from all the departments, after we've looked at all the pieces of the puzzle, your words often ring in my ears, and sometimes what you say pushes us over the edge to a yes. But welcome, and we'll have your Councilwoman Fiedler come up and talk about some of her thoughts. Then you'll hear from our budget officer and myself, and then we'll hear from you.
First, I want to thank everyone for coming out here tonight. I know it's a dreary night, but the snow has melted, so it's a safer travel than it was about a week ago. I don't want to take a lot of time to talk right now because you are the reason that we are all here. What you have to say is the most important tonight. But I want to just share that if you are on the fence about standing up at the microphone tonight, don't hesitate. There have been folks who have come up and testified at these town halls that have gotten things done just by repeating a message over and over again. Sidewalks, we have some sidewalk projects that are in the current CIP budget, Capital Improvement Program budget, and that came out of these town halls. We've added essential items to animal care and control over the years because the purple shirts have come out. I could go on and list organizations and individuals and communities who have made a difference for Anne Arundel County just by getting up and talking at the microphone. So I look forward to hearing from each and every one of you. And again, don't hesitate. Let us hear where you want your tax dollars spent. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Chris Trumbauer. I am the budget officer for the county, and I should say, in respect to the county exec offering the moment of silence, if you were wondering, Sergeant Trumbauer and I were not related to the best of either of our knowledge. Although there's not that many Trumbauers around, I suspect somewhere in the family tree we must have intersected. But I join everyone in offering condolences to his family. So what we're going to do now is go through a couple slides. We don't need to talk about the county exec's budget message because he just read it to you. But what we are going to talk about is why we're doing these town hall meetings now. Up on the screen is a timeline of the budget process. And as you can see in the yellow circle, that's where we are right now. This is an important time because no decisions have been made yet. And the county exec feels very strongly that he wants to hear from the public and the constituents before decisions are made so that those decisions can still be influenced. So as you'll see, we're just starting the process of the operating budget. In fact, just yesterday we started getting our requests from our departments in county government. And then in the next couple months, we will be reviewing those requests, deliberating on them. In March, the county exec and his team makes final budget decisions onto what makes it in or out of the budget. And then on May 1st, the proposed budget is introduced to the county council. Council member Fiedler and her colleagues then have 45 days to look under the hood, deliberate, amend, and hopefully adopt a budget by June 15th. Goes into effect July 1st. Then we start all over again in September. All right, so I know what you're thinking. Hey, Chris, where's all the money come from? Well, here's where it comes from. The two biggest sources of county revenue are property taxes and local income tax. You can see together that's over 3/4 of the county revenue. Those are our big sources. There's other important sources as well. One we'll talk about in a second, recordation and transfer tax, and then we get state contributions and other things as well. It all gets put together and added up in the current year to over $2 billion. Where does the money go? Well, you're sitting in one of the places, one of our high schools. Over half of it goes to the Board of Education to conduct pre-K through 12 education. And then you can see the other core groups of county government are broken up below that. But over 50% of our operating budget goes to our school system. A little bit more detail on that. The county provides direct funding, which is essentially we write a giant check and we give it to them to conduct their business. That's $881.5 million in the current year. But then we also contribute to the school system in other ways. We pay for the debt service, which is the interest on the bonds that can build school construction projects. We pay for school health officers. We pay for the school safety. And just starting this year, we are contributing for the retiree health care trust so that our school retirees will have a secure healthcare future in their retirement. So you see at the bottom, all totaled up, it's over $1 billion, which is a very large and impressive number. All right, so what's in the current year budget, FY24? We're about halfway through right now. Some really great stuff. First, I'd like to mention that we were able to keep the income tax rate the same or actually lower for 98% of our filers. We were able this year to dramatically increase the starting teacher pay. They had, I think, over 200 vacancies last year before the school season started. This year, that was cut in half. So still not where we want to be, but making some progress, and I think that's a big reason why. We also have a rainy day fund, which is essentially the county's savings account. That's where we put funds in so that they're available when there's a recession or other economic downturn. So we've been able to keep that at the maximum. It's about $160 million right now. And then this year we established a specific revenue stream that would fund the Affordable Housing Trust to help make sure that we have places for folks to live in our county. And then finally, my favorite is, for the first time ever in county history, last year we were awarded a AAA grade. That's the best you can possibly get from all three bond rating agencies, who all think that, thank you. You're clapping, of course, for the county exec and the county council because they proposed and adopted the budget, but in the budget office we're very proud too. Okay, so now we're going to look, how do we stack up against our neighbors? Anne Arundel County is that gold bar, okay? This is property taxes. So if you're a property owner in Anne Arundel, residential, you're paying 98 cents for every $100 of assessed value. You're probably wondering, well, that doesn't mean a lot to me. Well, now you can compare to your neighbors. If you have friends that live in Howard County, Baltimore County, Montgomery County, Baltimore City, Prince George's, guess what? They're paying higher taxes than you are, okay? So we have a pretty good deal in Anne Arundel. You can see most other of the larger populated jurisdictions are over $1, and our friends in Baltimore City are paying over $2. So pretty good deal, I think, for taxpayers in Anne Arundel. If you look at the next one, this is income tax. Similarly, we're the gold bar. We're over to the right of this, which means we have one of the lower rates compared to our neighbors. In Maryland, you can have a maximum rate of 3.2% for a county tax. And we, for the most taxpayers, we are at 2.81. We were able in the last couple of years to set up what's called a progressive tax income structure. So if you're earning a lower income, you pay a lower rate of 2.7%. If you're doing better and making over $400,000 a year, you're paying a higher rate. You are going to pay that 3.2%. But 98% of our filers are paying that 2.81 rate or lower. Next slide is just going to show you how we've managed to build up our rainy day fund over time. You can see that the last 5 years is when it really ticked up. That happens to coincide with when County Executive Pittman and Councilmember Fiedler were elected. So good job, you guys. Next slide. Oh, this is where I turn it back over to you, County Exec. I move faster this time, huh?
You're getting really fast.
Well, it's the third one. We get more efficient.
Yeah. So just some of the investments that we've made. This one shows the green dotted line is the growth of the county overall operating budget. Public safety is what we're talking about. Well, police and fire only is what we're talking about with the red. Guess what? Red is fire and blue is police lines. And basically, previous administration, they grew at a lower rate than the rest of the county budget. Our administration, they've grown at a significantly higher rate, which is not to say we have accomplished everything that we're trying to accomplish. You'll hear some about that later, I think, but we have a long way to go in terms of staffing, but we've made great progress there. The next slide is another area where we've massively increased our investments. The state has this thing called maintenance of effort. That's the required amount that you have to spend on your school system. And since we came in, the change in administration line there, we jumped it up so that we were almost 40 million over maintenance over the requirement for our school system the first year. But then the pandemic came, and remember, we thought the economy was going to collapse, and so we tightened our belts, and then things got better. In the last 2 years, we've actually been at 50 million over maintenance of effort. They've asked for 80 million over last year in this budget, but we will get to that eventually when we have to make some decisions. But that is part of the reason why you've seen teacher pay increase and really morale improve in our school systems, and hopefully it's starting to show up with our great superintendent Bedell making some really innovative changes in the school system. Next slide is parks, and I'm really proud of this because I think that our quality of life really is reflected in part by places that we have to go outside and enjoy nature and move our bodies and exercise. And so we have actually increased the number of capital projects in our parks. The numbers jumped up to 42, and I can't even see, we're at about 50 now. Is it 52? And then the amount of money in our capital budget for parks has increased a lot. That means a lot of work for the folks at Rec and Parks. Jessica Lays is here. Her team is doing a lot of work because every time they have a project, they not only have to work with DPW, with all the construction, work with the community and all the engagement and the design process, and then they have to actually staff it and maintain it. So, but thank you for keeping us happy and making sure we have fun. It's the Department of Fun. And the next slide is, let's see, affordable housing is an area that you may have heard a lot about more in the last few years than before. The state is stepped up, and the governor has an affordable housing list of bills that he's doing. And everybody from the Chamber of Commerce to any organization that you talk to that deals with the economy says that we have more jobs than we have workers right now in our county. And what we need is places for people to live so that our small businesses can hire. All of our businesses are saying we need housing, we need good education, we need transportation, we need childcare. These are the fundamental things. And so we came in and we weren't spending much in this county on our affordable housing programs. We bumped that up somewhat, but then it jumped up by $10 million year before last when we created, with federal money, the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And now we have a dedicated revenue source for that. So it makes it possible for rental assistance in some case, home ownership, down payment, and closing cost assistance for first-time home buyers, and a whole plethora of things that give our working people a little bit better shot at being able to live in this county. And the next slide, some of the local projects here. Some of these are really county facilities, so you probably don't get as excited about those, but you definitely get excited about some of the traffic improvement things, the Pleasant Plains road safety improvements. The Route 2 is coming. You may have heard about some cuts in the state SHA for the Transportation Trust Fund. They're working on coming up with new revenue sources for that so that we can actually complete the plans to deal with the intersections on Route 2 that are bottlenecks. Jumpers Hole Road as well, and then South Shore Trail, Broadneck Trail, and Brownswood basketball courts. And then Cape St. Clair Fire Station, I understand, is out for bid, so that will be coming soon. But we're really going to probably be hearing about some capital projects that you want put into the budget. Cypress Creek sidewalks for sure. I know we were going to be hearing a lot about that tonight, and it's now underway, and you'll hear more about that as well. But that's some of the stuff that we're investing in, and a few more slides from Chris, and then we'll hear from you.
Great. So now you've heard a little bit about the current year budget, and we're going to talk about what lies ahead. So first, when we look at the upcoming year, fiscal 25, what's really helpful is we look how we're doing right now in fiscal year 24. And I can tell you that the year that just ended, fiscal 23, we had pretty strong revenue growth. We expect that to slow a little bit in 24, but we still expect some modest growth on the income tax side. Property tax side is pretty robust. We expect that to continue. But the big story and what is stressing me out as your budget officer is the recordation and transfer tax. We'll show a slide in a second that'll show you the dramatic drop in that revenue source, and it's not surprising since mortgage rates are, above 7% right now, but nobody's buying houses, and that means we're not getting any revenue from that tax. But as we look ahead, we think that in general, the county is in strong fiscal foundation, but we are definitely missing that recordation and transfer tax like it was in previous years. We can go to the next slide. This is going to show you what I'm talking about. So you see those two big peaks, those mountains on there. The one on the left, that's the housing bubble from about 15 or 20 years ago. Anybody remember that? That was fun, right? See how it went up and then it went back down? Well, then it settled for a while into what we would consider as normal kind of annual growth. And then we saw it go up again in that shark fin spike on the right of the screen. Well, we remembered last time, and so we didn't budget for that. We budgeted more along the lines of what we expected the normal growth to be, but as you see, it's dropped even below that. So that's bad news, and if you see where that peak was, it was about $200 million, and if you see where we are now, it's at $100 million. That's a loss of $100 million of revenue over 2 years. Remember when, if you heard about the superintendent's request for the school system, he asked for 80 million. So we lost more than 20 million more than what he's requesting just over 2 years in that one revenue source. Now, the good news, the silver lining is the housing market should eventually recover, and when it does, that will be future revenue growth that we'll realize, but I can't tell you when that will be, except it will be when mortgage rates go down. Maybe you can tell me. All right, next slide. So when we're looking at some of the expectations for building the fiscal year 25 budget, we look at what we call the non-discretionary increases. These are just things that the cost goes up and we can't do anything about it. So our debt service increases, our health insurance and pension contributions increase. We have our negotiated pay agreements. These are things that we have to pay, no ifs, ands, or buts. Then we have some of our operational increases to consider. We negotiate pay packages. We have to transition away from our federal recovery funds. We started a lot of good programs during the pandemic, social safety net things and health department programs, and the county exec would love to continue some of those, but we don't have the federal money anymore, so that means we'll have to transition to county general funds or other funding sources. And then we always get incremental requests from our community college and libraries. And oh yeah, there's this big one in red. What does that say? Oh, Board of Education funding, right. So that's a request this year to the county, and the superintendent's request at least, of over $80 million. That's a lot of cake, but we're going to do the best we can. Okay, so this is a fun little exercise, and I say fun in quotes because I think it's fun, but normal people probably don't. But this is where on the right side you see a chart of a bunch of things that we have to eventually assign numbers to, right? This is how we build the budget. So the top half, I won't expect you to read the small print there, but the top half are all those non-discretionary costs that we talked about. In the middle, these are our pay packages, and then on the bottom are things that we have a little bit more control over deciding. These are policy decisions that we can do. Now, at the very top, you might be able to see that as of now, the budget office is projecting that we should receive around $80 or $90 million of what we call recurring incremental revenue. So this is more money than we got last year in the revenue source. That's a projected number. It could change. Don't hold me to it, but that's in the ballpark of where we think we'll be. So that's how much we have to spend on all the stuff that's there. Now, the non-discretionary stuff, ballpark, might be about $25 million. You take that right off the top. Then we got to pay our employees. We got to do our pay packages. Now, we don't know what that's going to look like yet, but last year it was $27 million. That was a very high inflation environment. It was 5% cost of living increase. We're not expecting it to be that high this year, but for the sake of argument, let's say $20 million. Take another 20 off. Now you're down to $40 million, right? Okay, so now what do we have to do with that $40 million? We've got to do our library. We've got to do our community college. We've got to do the supplemental requests that our great cabinet submits to do enhanced programming for Rec and Parks or DPW or Department of Aging. And yes, I'm listing the directors that are here at the table over there. But then the big one is that Board of Ed. The Board of Ed has requested $80 million. I just told you that when we get to this part in the chart, we only have 40 to spend. Now, I'm hopeful that the economic situation looks a little bit brighter than we thought in December. Maybe things get a little better, maybe they don't, but that gives you a window into some of the tough decisions that we're going to have to make. Next slide. So these are some of the pressures we have. The high inflation continues. It is moderating, but it's still higher than that kind of 2% target you hear the Fed talk about. our recurring incremental revenue is shrinking because we're losing out on that recordation and transfer revenue. And then some of the state education mandates are continuing to kick in this year from the blueprint for education. And then all of the built-in increases that come for debt service and healthcare and pension and retiree healthcare. And then that's not even to talk about our departmental base budget increases to just keep up with the cost of doing business. So now you know why there's a few more gray hairs in my beard this year than there was last year. All right, last couple slides here. I want to remind you guys, if you like budget, and I know you do, you can get a lot more information than you're getting in these 20 slides, okay? You can go to Open Arundel, which is aacounty.org, and you can dig into the budgeting as far as you want to get. Next slide is, if you really, really, really like budget, we've got this new tool called the Budget Data Development Explorer, which some of us like to call the Budget Buddy, and you can actually dig into each department and look at the sub-budget items and see how much they're spending on other things, and that's pretty cool. And then the final slide here is just where you can get the information from this presentation and some other budget things at aacounty.org/yourbudget. And then lastly, it's important that you came. We're glad that you're here. We know this is being live streamed. We know some people couldn't come. So every comment is important. You can send a comment to budget-comments@aacounty.org. I can personally assure you every single comment is read, compiled, and then we use that in the process to see what people are talking about, what they're requesting. And as the county executive said at the top of the show, some decisions have been influenced by public testimony at these. So your time is being well spent, I think. My time in front of you is over, and I'm going to turn it back over to celebrity moderator Asha Smith.
Okay, so we've come to the special part of the evening, public comment. This is not the Grammys. We don't want to have to play anybody off, so we are going to be mindful of time. Each speaker will have 2 minutes to give their testimony. We want you to speak, we want to hear from you, but we want to make sure that everyone gets an opportunity to say what they have to say, and that we don't keep the school open until midnight, right? So you're going to see a timer on the screen to help you keep track of time. And Tanner, that's going to be here on the big screen. There it is. Okay. For the sake of time, the county executive and the council member will not respond to every comment, but they're listening and taking notes. And they'll share their thoughts after we've heard from everyone. So please stick around to the end so that you can hear their responses. The way that we're going to do this is that I have a list of residents who've signed up to speak. I am going to call a few names at a time. When you hear your name, please come to the mic in order, stand in line. You're going to watch the time, and we're just going to go through, okay? We're going to do residents first, and then everyone else will have an opportunity. I just want to make sure I'm giving you all the directions up front, okay? We will open the floor up. If you're not on a list, we'll open the floor up so that if you've thought of something and didn't sign up, you'll have an opportunity to speak. And if we don't have the time to hear from you tonight, or if you think of something else that you want to share, we're going to ask you to email your comments to budget-comments@aacounty.org. Okay? Everybody got it? Okay. So I'm going to call a few names. Again, please just come up to the mic in order. We have Shane Hall, who's coming to speak with Sally Vavrick, Katie Burke, Noah Comet, and Ann Hamill.
Good evening. My name is Sally Vavrick, and I'm a resident of District 5. I have been a volunteer with Annapolis Immigration Justice Network for years and have had the privilege of hearing and witnessing many amazing, heart-wrenching stories of AIJN's clients.
and I'm Shane Hall. I'm also a resident of District 5 and a fellow board member of AIJN. I speak for both of us when I say our group's pretty committed to making our community a strong and welcoming one. Today we're testifying in favor of $125,000 in funding for AIJN's legal and wraparound services for immigrant children program. Our organization provides legal, financial assistance, transportation, and case management for youth. The investment that the county executive and the county government have already made, really supporting our immigrants in the county, is changing lives. Having the county's financial assistance coupled with the wraparound support from the Partnership for Youth, Children, and Families means that immigrant youth navigating their legal cases can focus on more important aspects of their lives without pressure of being unrepresented at a looming court case. What's important to understand about the children that we serve in this program is a majority of them are abused, neglected, or abandoned by one or both of their parents. Last year, this program, we were able to support our youngest unaccompanied minors ever, and they were siblings that were both under 3 years old, fleeing violence, and they were brought here to the U.S., reunited with a family member here in Annapolis. We were able to provide funding for these children to have quality attorneys work in their case and ensure their future safety. And in fact, this program that we run has it's helped 96 minors in Anne Arundel County receive high quality legal representation for their cases, and we've had 28 favorable decisions already since 2022.
The immigrant population is one of the fastest growing in our county and state. In Maryland, over 20% of the workforce is made up of immigrants. Having work authorization in the U.S. is key to participating in the formal economy and opens doors for meaningful employment that offers crucial benefits such as health insurance. In connecting immigrants to legal representation and a legal pathway to remain in the United States, we are bolstering our future economy. As our community becomes increasingly diverse, it is important to continue providing the necessary resources and support to ensure that everyone can thrive. Thank you for considering an extension of the funding for AIJN for fiscal year 2025. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Noah Comet. I'm a resident of Arnold here in District 5. I teach at the Naval Academy, and my wife works for the Watershed Stewards. We have an 11-year-old son who's been making use of our library system here since before he could talk. And it's that connection that inspired me to serve on the Library Board of Trustees, and it's also what brings me here tonight. I want to thank Councilmember Fiedler and County Executive Pittman for their steady support of the library's budgetary request in the past, and especially last year's historic increase in salary adjustments. We are immensely grateful. I'm testifying this evening in support of the library's budget with all of its supplemental requests, but none more urgent than the final installment of market rate adjustments for our dedicated library staff. I'd ask everyone here tonight to consider how vital the library system is to our community. To name just a few of the ways that our libraries matter: providing residents with free job training and tax help, offering a safe and inclusive place for kids and teens, and assisting people in crisis and helping to connect them with needed support, including access to social workers. This is to say nothing, of course, of the library's physical and digital holdings or the 6,000 odd community programs they offered just in the last year. We call Anne Arundel County the best place for all. The library is one area where those inspiring words transform into meaningful action. And of course, none of this can happen without the library staff. We know from our compensation study that most Anne Arundel Library employees are paid below the market rate. In fact, about 80% of our staff are under parity with their peers in nearby counties, some of them alarmingly underpaid to the tune of thousands of dollars. So think about what our libraries do every day to support our community and ask yourself, is that okay with you? This council and the county executive made extremely admirable progress on this issue last year, and I would urge you to finish the job this year. Thank you for the opportunity to speak and for your consideration of the library's needs.
Thank you.
Councilman Fiedler, County Executive Pittman. My name is Ann Hamill, and I'm also a resident of District 5, and I'm going to follow those beautiful remarks about the library with some additional remarks about the library, and a plea that the request to bring the salaries up to market rate be fully funded. Our library staff are the heart of our libraries, which are central to the quality of our lives here in Anne Arundel County. Time and time again, the library steps in to fill needs in addition to fostering literacy and knowledge across the county, from social workers in libraries to COVID tests to 7,000 Chromebooks to food pantries to gun lock giveaways. Libraries promote social wellness as well as that literacy and learning. And when the needs come up, the libraries step in. So in COVID, just a personal story, my niece on lockdown with her children, stressed about finding activities for them, I was able to go to the library and they would get book stacks for me. 10 books a week on the topics of interest to my niece and nephew, left outside so I could read to them by Zoom. There's space for tutoring. One of my friends tutors, and she is appreciative of the quiet space that's there. And also there was a coat drive at her library, which prompted her to clean out her own closet. The librarians are eyes on our communities. They are able to witness what's going on with patrons and if it's necessary, to connect those patrons to care. I teach a mental health first aid class for my job. I taught it at the Anne Arundel County Public Library headquarters, equipping librarians with the skills to notice if our fellow community members are in need and to connect those people to care. This budget also allows us to scale out. The more the library does, the more people like me who work on the Anne Arundel County Library Foundation Stewardship Committee can ask for private dollars. Thank you for everything you've done. Please consider funding the library budget in full.
Thank you. I just want to make another call for Katie Burke. Oh, okay, all right. Thank you. Quick public service announcement. If anybody needs the use of the facilities, you go out the door to the rear there, make a right, and the men's and ladies' rooms will be on your right. Okay, so our next few residents are Robert Wilkins, John Keene, Dan Tootle, Joseph Everett, and Laura Kelman. Please come up to the mic, and when it's your turn, state your name for everyone to hear you. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Robert Wilkins, and I'm here to urge the county to budget, repair, and repave Dividing Creek Road, Dividing Creek Port, and Arnold. These are county roads in the area of Arnold. Dividing Creek Road is only 3/10 of a mile long. But it's the only way in and out for 80 homes on in and inside streets. So it serves a lot of people. It would be a relatively small project to repair this road, but it would be a benefit to a lot of folks. Over the years, it's been excavated for utility work many times, and repaired with patches on top of patches. Some of the patches were crude temporary patches that were never replaced with permanent pavement. Patches that cracked, sunk, or worn through. Other section of the roads other section of the road are simply crumbling. So the road is extremely rough and bumpy and getting worse each year. For 4 or 5 years, we've been on the list for repaving, but each year the project has been canceled and deferred to the following year for various reasons. That's why we're here tonight. We seek support for making these repairs this year. DPW staff have been out several times. Recently, they visited and advised that the road surface has now deteriorated to the point that spot repairs followed by the usual microsurfacing is no longer a viable solution for this road. DPW representative said that the road has not been paved since 1975, almost 50 years ago. Dividing Creek Court, a soft, short side streets in better condition, but has 4 places where it needs some repairs. We appreciate your support and look forward to working with you to address this issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm John Keene. I'm a resident of Severna Park and a board member of Friends of Anne Arundel County Trails. I'd like to thank County Executive Pittman and Council Representative Fielder for holding this session tonight. I'm here to express general support for the fiscal year 25 capital and operating budget for the Department of Recreation and Parks. But I would like to emphasize special support for Anne Arundel County Trails. The expansion of the trail system is severely stretching existing operational and maintenance resources. There's a need for additional ranger and maintenance positions for the trail system, and also for additional vehicles and maintenance equipment. Currently, we have 4 additional trails under construction, so this is a problem that is growing for us. We have the WV&A Patuxent River Bridge. We have Phase 3 of the Broadneck Trail along College Parkway. We have Phase 1B and 5 of the Broadneck Trail, which is the extension eastward to Sandy Point State Park, and the South Shore Trail Phase 2 between Odenton and Route 3. I'd also urge support for continuing development of the side path along Jumpers Hole Road here in Severna Park between Kinder Park and Benfield Road. And finally, I'd like to thank the county for the preservation of the remaining acreage of the Cattail Creek Natural Area, which is located along Route 2 here in Severna Park. It does a great deal to preserve water quality in the Magathie River Basin and also preserve forested open space. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dan Tootle, and I'm a resident 108 Askew Road in Severna Park. I'm speaking tonight to request that adequate funding within the upcoming fiscal year 25 budget be provided to establish the County Veterans and Military Families Office within the county executive staff. I want to thank County Executive Pittman and Council Member Amanda Fiedler, along with all the members of the council, for establishing a full-time Veteran Services Coordination Center manager, this position within the current year, and for your continuing support for veterans and military families here in the county. Now it's time to continue that support by establishing the office that's responsible for the support of veterans, military personnel, and their families who are county residents, the Anne Arundel County Veterans and Military Families Office, this through the funding and hiring of a Veterans and Military Families Officer, an office and a person who will be our county spokesperson and advocate for the 95,000 veterans, military, and families, reservists, and National Guard who make up over 13% of our county neighbors, all who have been or are currently serving on active military duty. Our county hosts 4 active military duty facilities, the second largest number of veterans within the state, and the largest presence of active and military persons in military facilities within Maryland. However, unlike Prince George's, Howard, and Montgomery counties, our county does not have a veterans office with funded, dedicated staff. Establishing the office through the establishment of the officer position will ensure that our county is actively providing the representation and services needed by our county veterans and military families, and to provide that support. Establishing this office is both timely and supportive of the needed capability within our county administration and government, and in line with the commitment to do so made by you early in 2019. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Joseph Everett. I'm here to speak about requesting money in the budget for the road maintenance yard movement from Odenson to currently our residential area. In your letter to the community, you state, I take exception to the idea that this decision was made inequitably. It goes without saying that there are numerous factual errors in that siting survey that were performed for this project. The county, I guess, is of the simplistic opinion that a survey was done, we're moving on, facts be damned. The problem is you, the county exec, are not being provided a total picture feedback, and there is no reason to expect the community to believe anything but the siting survey being inequitable. In your letter to the community, you said, I've been told that the site selection was extremely difficult due to the specificity of the demands of the facility. Those requirements were, is the land zoned correctly? Minimum 320 foot on one side. There's 5 sides to the property or less. Those are not difficult requirements. In my job, I too build things for a living worldwide. I have to tell you, those requirements are not difficult. You should seriously question the people that are telling you those requirements are difficult. I would dream to have siting requirements that simplistic. You brought up Plan 2040 in your letter to the community. When you passed the plan, you said the plan does something that's very rare in government. It transfers power from the government to the people. Literally puts people first. DPW has been working on this since 2011. There's been no community involvement in this thing since 2011. It doesn't seem like people first to us. You also talk about the nature. In your letter on the Severna Park voice, but I'll fight like hell to protect nature from destruction by human beings. This is the only site that was looked at that is within the Green Infrastructure Master Plan. None of the other locations were in the Green Infrastructure Master Plan, yet that's the one that's being developed. This clock goes faster here. While getting signatures from my neighbors, they stated their opposition to the industrial operation being built in our residential area. One of the neighbors says, I think it's a done deal. They do what they want. So, and finally, I'll skip ahead. You've said, stay engaged, keep advocating. We will always find ways to work together on this project and others in the area to provide improvement to your community. The county wouldn't need to ask that question if it wasn't being developed in our area. We do not want this industrial operation in our residential area. The county needs to perform a valid siting survey using facts. There's currently a plot of ground for sale at the intersection of M33 and MD 175, which exactly matches the requirement. There's also an industrial zone plot on MD 170 and 32. Both of these are good starting points for finding a new correctly zoned location for the maintenance yard. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello there. My name is Laura Kelman. I am a library associate at the Severna Park Library with 10 years of service. I'm here to ask for adequate pay for our library staff. You do know about our compensation study, which showed that Anne Arundel County Public Library staff workers are underpaid. Last year, we asked for $2.9 million, and we received about half the funds that would bring us up to match with surrounding counties and similar private sector jobs. Thank you for that. While we do appreciate it, we are still behind. It is difficult to pay our bills. Single co-workers cannot afford to live alone, even in a very small apartment. As I personally found out last autumn, many of us are one bill away from a serious financial hardship. Career, full-time staff need second jobs to feed their families. And because of our poor pay, our current turnover rate is unsustainable. Our customers, our dear customers, of course, have no idea how underpaid we are. We library staff present ourselves as friendly and efficient, proud and happy to serve our community, but we are not okay. Please trust me when I say that what we are asking for is adequate funding. Please value your library workers and your libraries, where everyone is welcome to come in, get warm, and have a friendly conversation. Our libraries nurture our children's imaginations and our community's dreams and collaborations. Library staff have always been here for you, and now we ask that you be here for us. Please fund our $1.4 million request for fiscal year 25. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we'll have Carrie Moran, Melissa Betanati, Delilah Schroeder, Christina Fritz, and Kurt Svensson.
Good evening. My name is Carrie Moran. I am a resident of Severna Park, and I am here to advocate for better benefits for our school health staff. You may or may not be aware that the school health staff does not actually work for AACPS. Rather, they are employed by the Anne Arundel County Department of Health, and their position is called a 10-month county contractual. So what does that mean? Well, they work for a contracted amount of days every year in their assigned school, mostly following the school calendar, and are expected to return every year. They do not receive a single paid holiday. They do not receive any retirement benefits and can only enroll in a post-tax system. They are not eligible for flexible spending accounts, dependent child care accounts, tuition assistance, or bereavement pay. They could work for school health for 25 years and walk away with no employer benefits, including health or retirement. They cannot carry over any sick time year to year. For example, if an employee had COVID, they would be forced to use their personal leave, and then if their child got COVID and needs care, their entire personal leave of 8 days would be gone. Or if they're injured on the job, they have to use their own personal leave. Past those allotted days, it is all without pay. If this happened around a holiday break for school, it is quite possible they would go 2 to 3 weeks without an income. For a health assistant making $24,000 per year, this is financially devastating. So now they're behind on their bills and they need help. They reach out to a supervisor for assistance, only to find out that county contractual employees are not eligible for the employee assistance program. If they want assistance, they can call the county warm line, just like any other Anne Arundel County resident. This is not the best that we can do for our school health employees. This year, there were approximately a half dozen employees who have experienced homelessness while employed in this program. This should not happen. School health staff worked all through COVID, and they continue to show up every day to meet the needs of 86,000 students, respond to any medical emergency that occurs in a school building on any given day, provide health education and mental health support. This is when the staff realize they are not in a job, they're in a job and not a career, because this position is no longer sustainable for them to live within the county that actually employs them. And this just boggles my mind. In the past 15 months, school health turnover rate was close to 60%. So they leave their position with the best place of Anne Arundel County. Maybe they drive across the border to neighboring counties like Howard, which provide their school health staff all of these benefits, like 16 paid holidays plus higher pay. Or maybe they jump ship to AACPS, where at least some of these benefits are provided to their staff because the county approves that spending in their budget every year. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
Hold on. Good evening. My name is Melissa Bertinetti. We have owned 163 Creekwater Lane for 24 years in District 5. So we have also witnessed the deterioration of Dividing Creek Road, which my neighbor Robert Wilkins previously addressed. My lane intersects with Dividing Creek Road, and at that point, there is a section of pavement, approximately 60 to 75 square feet, that has severely crumbled. Each winter, water seeps into the area, then freezes, which expands during the crumbling, so it's getting worse and worse. And DPW has identified this as one of the places that needs to be excavated and repaired before the road is repaved. And as my neighbor mentioned, our road has not been paved since 1975. As one who walks their dog daily on Dividing Creek Road, I want to emphasize that we have no sidewalks. So the road itself is often filled with walkers, most with dogs, plus bikers and children walking from school bus stops on Jones Station Road to their homes in our neighborhood. Since the edges of the road are severely crumbling, walkers often have no choice but to walk down the middle of the road, which is clearly unsafe. There are a few other spots on Dividing Creek Road needing repair, and I believe DPW is aware of them. So I'm also requesting the county to confirm and prioritize this work for 2022, 2024, 25, and thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Delilah Schroeder, and I'm a District 5 resident from Severna Park. Tonight, I'm asking for specific additional staff members for Anne Arundel County Animal Care and Control, where I've been a volunteer for over 10 years.
Earlier this week, as Mr. Pittman and his staff were preparing for a different budget town hall, the shelter received a new dog that its staff named Billy. Billy was so emaciated that he could not stand up on his own or even lift his head. Someone had abandoned Billy outside in the cold to die, and he in fact was very, very close to death. Senior shelter staff debated whether the kindest thing to do was to euthanize Billy immediately to end his suffering. But Billy still had a light in his eye that inspired a Hail Mary. They contacted the shelter volunteers who run the nonprofit that pays for urgent medical care that the shelter itself doesn't have the funds to provide. The volunteers immediately agreed to pay for Billy to go to an emergency vet hospital for overnight care, an over $1,000 expense. He made it through the night and returned to the shelter the next morning, where he stayed in an office for the day, being fed a tiny bit of food every hour. That afternoon, he raised his head for the first time. Last night, he went home with a shelter staff person who made a bed for herself on the floor next to Billy's so she could monitor him and feed him throughout the night. Another staff person has him at her home tonight to continue his constant care. Although he's not yet entirely out of the woods, Billy's future is looking good right now. These are the kind of dedicated people who work at our county's animal shelter. One of Billy's caretakers is a staff person who now does the equivalent of at least 3 jobs at other shelters of our size. We're asking you to please budget for additional staff to spread out her responsibilities, and also for another veterinary technician. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're just going to do a quick mic change, if we can just ask you to hold on for 1 second.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you both for being here, and nice seeing you again. I'm here to show my support for building the sidewalk for those who are unfamiliar with that catchy phrase. It's the sidewalk that would run from Cypress Creek to McKinsey, basically from St. John's and St. Anne's Food Parish to the giant shopping center where Kohl's is as well. Last year, we were able to secure the funding for phase 1 of the sidewalk, and thank you again. We put in a lot of hours and time and money already, and we'd like to make sure we can get the rest of the sidewalk actually built and not leave it floundering in government, whatever, the abyss. I wanted to share a story about a neighbor of mine who's in the audience but doesn't want to speak tonight, and they have allowed me to share their story about their child who was riding their bike along this section of Route 2 and blew a bike tire. And they were too afraid to turn around and look to see if cars were coming, and they just needed to get off the side of the road. I think this sidewalk would help a lot many more people than you would think. For reference, there are 17 kids at my bus stop in the morning. This is one bus stop for just one school. These kids will eventually want to ride their bikes to giant Chick-fil-A, or hopefully their job. And I think it would be beneficial and wonderful to know that they are safe heading just 0.2 miles up the road. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kurt Svensson. I live in Arnold. I don't like paying taxes. I don't like going to the dentist, but I willingly do both. I do not believe Anne Arundel County taxpayers are overtaxed, and the data shown earlier confirms that. But as a citizen, I do respect the will of the county voters in their approval of the property tax revenue cap. The fact we are not overtaxed is due, at least in part, to the cap itself. In your first budget address, you expressed a similar discomfort with circumventing the tax cap, and I quote, "I was uncomfortable until I saw a chart showing the 4 times that politicians lowered the ceiling for future years by setting rates lower than the cap. I don't believe the drafters of our revenue cap intended to give politically motivated politicians the power to force down taxes after they depart from office, but they did. Those 4 political decisions cost the county $470 million combined. We can fix this, exactly that amount. I applauded your corrective decision in fiscal 20. Incredibly, though, in the fiscal 23 budget, an election year budget, you completely reversed that correction. Then last year, you completely redid that correction. So we're all caught up now. But, and this is the big question, is fiscal 25 the year that you and other county leaders thumb your nose to the voter-approved property tax, just because the state legislature has already thumbed its nose to the concept of home rule for charter counties by allowing local caps to be circumvented for the purpose of funding local school boards in excess of maintenance effort doesn't mean you have to do it. I ask you to refrain from such circumvention. As a citizen, I'm going to hold you accountable in good faith. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Laura Kelman, Chip Walsh, Shub Agihotri, William Gonzalez, and Chief Dave Crawford. Thank you, Laura Kelman. So we'll have, and Ann Hamill, I think, already went, right? All right, so then we'll have Latoya Congolo.
Hi, I'm Chip Walsh. I bike ride for fun, and I bike ride for transportation. I ride to the post office, the hardware store, medical appointments, the local restaurant, and the grocery, and I have fun while doing it. For years, I rode the bike to the MARC station in Odenton as part of my daily commute. And I estimate that I have personally eliminated 6,000 automobile trips from the roads of Anne Arundel County because I ride my bike. Think how helpful to traffic, environment, citizens' health it would be if other people could get on their bikes instead of starting their engines. I've had people tell me, I wish I could ride my bike too, but the roads where I live are too dangerous. It's true, our roads force bicycles into dangerous situations. Consider Route 175 in Odenton, the county's only road crossing of the Amtrak line south of Donaldson. It's a drag strip with no shoulders and is a bicycle safety nightmare. More should be done. It should be automatic that every highway improvement considers cycling accessibility. Retrofitting cycling to the road network after the fact is expensive and inefficient. Every time we build a road or improve an intersection, we need to be building in bicycle access. It's simple. When we build a road, put a place for the bikes to go. In recent years, Anne Arundel County has made great strides in improving the feasibility and safety of bicycling. I'm truly impressed, and I'm grateful by everything the county has done to improve bicycling. And I see in the proposed budget, scrolling through item by item, 35 capital projects that will further improve cycling in the county. Please approve these projects. Thank you, and build for bikes.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Shub Agihotri, and I'm encouraging the county to invest more into its public transportation network. In Severna Park, we have 2 buses that run hourly to take us to Baltimore and Annapolis, and this is simply insufficient. To increase ridership of the Gold Line extension, service should be run at least every 20 minutes in both directions to establish the service as a viable alternative to driving. We should coordinate with the Maryland General Assembly to acquire funding for dedicated bus lanes on Ritchie Highway to allow buses to pass congestion and ease traffic on our busiest corridor. Larger bus stations could be made in the median of the road with safe pedestrian crossings to allow people to cross Ritchie Highway safely. A bus rapid transit system for Anne Arundel County could transform our community into one that is accessible for everyone and not just drivers. Our call and ride system should be expanded to the whole county to accommodate unorthodox trips within the county that are not centered on our main roads that can be served by fixed route transit. Building off of our existing systems can be transformative to our community. If we're serious about expanding sustainability, if we're serious about saving our bay, if we're serious about relieving traffic congestion, we need to invest in our public transportation system. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is William. I've lived in Anne Arundel County for most of my life. I came back to Anne Arundel County after being active duty military. Now I proudly serve as a county police officer for over 11 years. I've seen this county explode in population, where roadways and highways become filled with traffic, causing increased travel times. These issues are significantly increasing the response times from police and fire when the citizens need a fast response, when their lives literally can be depending on it. Over the years, I've seen emergency services like police and fire become overwhelmed with calls and slower response times, as well as calls holding because staffing has not kept up with the growth of the county. I hope my voice is heard and make sure our emergency services are not forgotten during these budget talks.
Good evening, I'm Dave Crawford. I live here in Severna Park. I'm the chief of Early Heights Volunteer Fire Company, and we service most of District 5 as well as the other infrastructure in the county. My ask tonight's a little different. We're like a lot of the volunteers here, and we save this county millions of dollars in what we do. The volunteers own roughly $44 million in fire apparatus and about $300 million in structures here. So as we go through the year, we only get $57,500 for our buildings to operate for a whole year. I know there's a lot of folks in this building tonight need better funding. All we ask for is you fund the volunteers, realize what we do, what we save this county, and hopefully we help the other volunteer agencies get extra money. That's all we ask.
Thank you.
Thank you, County Executive Pittman and Councilwoman Fiedler for holding tonight's forum. My name is Latoya Congolo. I am a resident of Severna Park. I'm a county taxpayer, and more importantly, I'm an Anne Arundel County public school mother. So as mentioned earlier, half of the county budget is earmarked for our public school system. Last week, I attended an event where several elected officials and leaders stated that just a few years ago, Anne Arundel County Public Schools was recognized as one of the top-ranking school systems in the state of Maryland. However, since then, there's been a decline in our school ranking, student performance, and school safety. But for the sake of time tonight, I want to focus on school safety. Just yesterday, a student brought a gun to Crofton High School. Last year, serious offenses reached a 4-year high, which involved firearms, look-alike guns, and knives being brought into our schools. Having engaged with students and teachers across this county in recent months, many do not feel safe in the school environment. My ask is that we strategically invest in measures to enhance the safety of our schools so we can potentially reverse these trends, thus creating a more conducive learning environment for Anne Arundel County Public Schools students and staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we'll... Hello? Is this working? I think I've lost electricity. Okay. Next, we'll have Leah Paley, John Corin, Cheyenne Dominguez, Brian Gugarty, oh, it's back, and Diane Evans.
Hopefully I didn't turn that off. Oh, it sounds like it's working good. And what an honor to be followed by my friend John Corin. Good evening. I'm Leah Paley. I'm the CEO of the Anne Arundel County Food Bank, and for the last 8 years have been a District 5 resident. And I'm here tonight to represent the Anne Arundel County Food Bank. Thank you for the opportunity to provide input. We're here tonight to urge the county to include $1.5 million in the FY25 budget for our organization. For over 35 years, we've been providing critical services like food and basic essentials to our neighbors experiencing food insecurity. All of this is provided free of charge. We're grateful for the county's longstanding support which I spent some time tallying the numbers last night, has amounted to $5.46 million in the last 4 years in ARPA funding. We are so grateful for that support, which helped us meet a critically high demand during the COVID pandemic. The funds that you have allowed us to access have provided nutritious foods to our neighbors experiencing health and helping them to experience better health outcomes. Last year, in collaboration with our 76 network partners, we distributed 3.4 million pounds of food and basic necessities to our neighbors throughout the county, and that included 1 million pounds of fresh produce and lean proteins. Right here in District 5, we partnered with 7 groups and distributed over 8,500 instances of service to our neighbors experiencing food insecurity. The need for food assistance remains alarmingly high in our county. 48,000 instances of service per month across the county is what our network of partners are providing and supporting through our work. That's 13% higher than it was this time last year. I strongly urge you to include money in the budget so that we can continue to provide the volume of food that we are able to do so now thanks to your support, and also so that we are not having to be forced to charge our partners in order for them to receive the services. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm John Corrin, a resident of District 5, president of Bicycle Advocates for Annapolis and Anne Arundel County, and as you know, I chair the Bike Commission. I first want to thank both the executive and legislative branches for being great partners, and to thank each of you personally for being great partners in making the county more bikeable and walkable. We have Plan 2040 calls for this. Move Anne Arundel has quantified goals for shifting mode share away from vehicles and towards biking, walking, and transit. We have the walk and roll plan. We have a recently adopted Vision Zero program to address safety on our roads. We have been killing it on getting grants, and you know we have been your partner in getting so many grants. We've got a lot of projects in the pipeline, lots of studies and design. Where we need more oomph is in getting those projects completed so that we can both realize the public benefit sooner and also be positioned to get even more grants. There are new federal programs opening up every month to support biking and walking. We've got to move the projects through quicker. So in the capital program, keep the focus on trails so we can fill out the network, get connectors to the trail network so people can get from where they live to where they're trying to travel. On road, as Chip said so well, let's make sure all of our road projects are addressing people on foot and bike. Special emphasis in the town centers, which are denser, have greater access to jobs and transit. And finally, the schools. I would love to see a safe routes to school coordinator located either in AACPS, ECPS, or the county. Operating budget, Rec and Parks needs more maintenance and management folks, as Jack said. Public Works needs more folks to better manage the projects and move them through the pipeline and get them to completion. So thank you again for your partnership. We're doing a lot. We can do even better if we can get these projects done quicker. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Cheyenne Dominguez, and I live here in District 5 in the Cypress Creek community with my husband and 2 boys. I serve as the volunteer president of the Cypress Improvement Association, or as I like to tell my kids, the CIA. We're a highly organized community with about 350 residential homes. We're a peninsula accessible only via Cypress Creek Road, which runs east off Ritchie Highway. As my friend Christina shared, I'm here to ask for your continued support to build a sidewalk along our small but incredibly important stretch of just 0.2 miles along Ritchie Highway from Cypress Creek Road to McKinsey Road, where the Shell gas station is. And the stakeholders of this 0.2 miles are many. It would not only improve the quality of life for our residents, but it would enable walkability for church parishioners and students of St. John. It would provide accessibility to our local businesses in the hub of Severna Park, and it would provide the ability for our elementary students complete connectivity all the way to their assigned school at Folger McKinsey. But let's talk public safety. The reality is children are seen riding their bikes, teenagers, including my own, are walking, and mothers are seen pushing strollers along this way with only a white painted line for their safety while cars whiz by at 50 miles per hour. And as we shared with you last year, numerous traffic safety reports dating all the way back to 2010 have conducted studies and recommended that this exact area be prioritized because of its high risk. And while I don't speak for any other groups, we are proud to have the support of others like St. John, the Severna Park Arnold Chamber of Commerce, and the Greater Severna Park Council. Our community has talked about this sidewalk for 28 years, and frankly, you two are the first to help push it forward, so thank you very much. We got in phase 1 for the budget last year. Let's keep it moving forward. Let's not waste any of the precious resources and staff time that have already been invested. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Brian Gugarty, a resident of District 5. I'm representing Save Our Trees, a program of the Anne Arundel County Watershed Stewards. Save Our Trees originated in 2022 to help save our community's tree canopy from the scourge of English ivy and other invasive vines that are decimating our trees and forests. I will now briefly describe the problem. It's not hard to see the problem. Merely look at the edges of parks, schools, churches, farms, trails, and highways. Invasive vines are destroying our mature trees and blanketing forest floors. These forests cleanse our air and water and much more. We are losing our trees at an alarming rate. The greatest asset the county has is an educated, motivated citizenry. We are starting to notice the problem. People are starting to notice the problem, and they are responding with action. Save Our Trees volunteers saved close to 3,000 trees, and we're just getting started. We request funding for a full-time, permanent, countywide invasive plant professional who would develop and implement a comprehensive plan. The plan should address parks as well as county-maintained roads and private property. We ask also for the weed-resistant volunteer coordinator to become a full-time county staff position. We recommend that the county consider future additional staffing for this program so that the significant volunteer community in Anne Arundel County can clearly concerned about the invasives problem can be fully leveraged. We have submitted written testimony that goes into greater detail about the state of our forests, the increasing peril of invasive plants, the possible ways for the county to tackle the problem. We are not asking for the government to do it all while we sit back and watch. We are asking for the county to fully recognize the issue, spread the word, and help us and others use volunteers to slow the spread of these destructive plants. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, County Executive Pittman and Councilwoman Fiedler. It's nice to be here again. I was here last year, and it's my pleasure to represent the Friends of Anne Arundel County Trails. I live in Arnold and have for many, many years. And currently, I'm the president of the Friends. And before I do the ask, I wanted to thank you all for what you provided us last year. I know it was minimal, but it was important. And the staff has been doing a wonderful job, maintenance and the rangers, in trying to patrol and keep up our 41 miles of trails. It's a phenomenal effort, and as president of the Friends and what we do, we pledge to continue our cooperation and partnership with the county to do what we can when you all aren't able to due to funding or whatever. I would like to let you know that we support the request for one new ranger for this upcoming year. And if you had a little bit of extra cash, perhaps you could see fit to have a part-time staff person for the office at Jonas and Catherine Green. And if you really came upon a pot of gold, how about throwing in a couple of vehicles for the Rangers so that they don't have as much time between one destination and another to address an issue? As far as the last speaker who spoke, the Friends will be participating in Save Our Trees on the Broadneck Peninsula this weekend. Let's pray for good weather. We are well aware of the issue, and we thank the county for what they have been doing, and volunteers are going to take up the cudgel to do what we can do as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Rounding out our District 5 residents, we have Pat Lynch and Rosemarie Pataki.
Good evening. My name is Pat Lynch. I'm president of the Broadneck Council, and I'm also vice chair of Growth Action Network. The Broadneck Peninsula is a total of about 48,000 residents who live on this piece of land, and it is the most undesirable place to live for the 3 months that we endure beach traffic every summer. I want to also say that the Broadneck Council recognizes the hard work and dedication that you, Mr. Pittman, and your staff have put into managing the geographies of Anne Arundel County. And also Councilman Amanda Fiedler, she has made a significant difference in District 5, and she continues to do so. She never lets us down. We know that budget funds will always be a scarcity and a problem, but there will always be money, taxpayers' money. The issue is how much and what are the priorities. Based on our location on the Broadneck Peninsula, as I stated, we're deluged with summer beach traffic and we need relief on both state and county roads to help us survive the miles of traffic backup. We request funds for Broadneck roads that serve residents of our peninsula, especially in communities such as Colbert Road near the Bay Bridge. Added to that is a need for funds to complete stormwater problems off of Pleasant Plains Road, required to move telephone poles that are sitting on the asphalt of the Pleasant Plains Road. We started this project in 2016 and still have not moved the poles away from traffic. Problem is funding. We have been working with the county in this for 8 years and not one single pole has been moved away from traffic. Finally, our county code, Stuart, is always at the top of the list of projects needed to be funding and scheduled. Due to the inaccuracies and adjustments over the years, the code is almost too difficult to follow. Time is money, and both the public and private sector workers must take extra time to work our way through pages of outdated county laws. We're paying in wasted time instead of for the consultant who was rumored to be hired to complete the job. Please schedule the project in 2024 and also invite the skilled and interested public to participate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rosemarie Pataki. I am a District 5 resident of Severna Park, and I am here to support the sidewalk that we are hoping to get built between Cypress Creek Road and McKinsey Road on Ritchie Highway. I was here last year along with many of my other neighbors to support the sidewalk, and I'd like to thank Executive Pittman and Councilwoman Fiedler for pushing forward the feasibility study last year, and I'd like to have this continue moving forward. This is a 0.2 miles of sidewalk along a very dangerous portion of Ritchie Highway, and as a mother of two little boys who want to be able to ride their bikes to go see their friends at Folger McKinsey or to go shop at the Giant or Park Plaza, we really enjoy having this length of sidewalk built for the safety of our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move to our non-residents at this time, our friends in District 5. So I'm going to start. Mike, I assume that you'd like all of your team at once? Okay, so we'll have Mike Shire, George Davis, Matt Gibbons, Lauren Pridgeon, Kevin Ford, Dwayne Raynorth, O'Brien Atkinson, and Ian Prees.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. County Executive, for a moment of silence for our fallen brother. And thank you all here tonight. Sergeant Trumbauer served as a Marine Corps, as a Marine and an Anne Arundel County police officer for 21 years. He was 49 years old. He's survived by his wife and daughter, and we ask you to hold them in your thoughts and prayers. Mr. County Executive, a few nights ago you heard my story, one of my stories. I'm proudly joined here tonight by Detective Ian Prees. He was with me as well at 888 Bestgate Road. He was by my side, and I'm proud that he's here to tell one of his stories. As you have heard recently, and I hope you now realize, our police department is in crisis. We are 30% understaffed to adequately serve the public safety needs of our county, and it is getting worse. Our agency projects that we will continue to lose officers faster than we can hire them. The FOP has spent 6 years begging you to address this issue. This problem may have been created by Owens, Leopold, and Shue, but it is your issue now. It is your problem to solve now. Over the past week, you and I have been having informal conversations about our county's lackluster hiring process. We've been trying to address the fact that despite the fact that we have a staffing crisis, our county is not accepting applications for entry-level police officers. Anyone in this room can go to our county website. You will not find a link to take you to an application. It does not exist. Anyone who says otherwise is not being truthful. We are trying to address an urgent bill that is currently before the county council. It could positively impact our ability to hire experienced police officers, but in its current form, it is flawed. It will be useless to its aim. It needs to be fixed. We've reached out, but we cannot get answers from your administration. At events like these, you offer words of support for your police department and your officers. You show graphs about how much you have increased the public safety budget. You tout the infrastructure projects you've worked on. But what you don't show in those graphs is all the money the county saved by neglecting public safety for so long. It's not that you're spending so much money on our police, it's that you're making up for prior administration's failure to invest. Public safety is the most fundamental obligation of government. Those are your words. I sympathize with your predicament. We are all in this situation together. So maybe we should work together to solve these problems. Alarm bells are sounding all around. Police officers hear them. We hope that you do too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for letting me speak to you this evening. My name is George Davis, and I'm one of the detectives in your homicide unit. I've had 30 years in law enforcement. 23 of those years were spent in Baltimore City. In Baltimore City, I could tell you that our murder rate as of last year was 259 people. That's a lot of folks. I could tell you that in Anne Arundel County, we had 16 murders. Many members of command staff and other agencies would jump for joy for that number. To me, that was 16 families that myself or someone in my office had to deliver a message that your loved one isn't making it home. I can remember in my time in Baltimore delivering messages to one of those 259 families. I used to think to myself, thank the Lord, for 27 years my family and I have lived in Anne Arundel County. Thank the Lord there aren't staffing shortages, and thank the Lord that they're safe. And I would thank you on my drive home. Well, Mr. Pittman, I'm worried now. I'm starting to see staffing shortages. I'm seeing a police department with a breed of officers that you don't find on the street. They're trained this way. They are willing to charge headfirst into the darkness. They're willing to take on whatever task you ask of them. They're willing to write that check and risk their lives, payable to all and including my life. It's not something that you're going to easily find. I worry moving forward that instead of delivering that message to 16 families, I'm going to be delivering it to more families. My greatest fear, Mr. Pittman, is a message that I had to deliver to a family as a homicide detective in Baltimore. I'm sorry your loved one paid the ultimate sacrifice. I'm sorry they're not going to be home, but I want you to know that they served with honor. I want you to know that they gave all for their community. Mr. Pittman, I hope and I pray you never have to deliver that message, because it's a name that will live on your heart. It's a face that will be ingrained in your mind. It's a family you will never forget. And I can tell you it's a name that I wear on my wrist every day to remind me of why we come forward and why we work so hard, is to keep this community safe. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Matt Gibbons, member of the Anne Arundel County Police Department, and I sit on the Board of Directors for the Fraternal Order of Police. Mr. Pittman, Ms. Fiedler, thank you for being here and hearing us tonight. Just yesterday in our county, we had an assault with a handgun, a burglary, an aggravated assault, an armed robbery, and that student who brought the handgun to Crofton High School. And that was a slow day. Who's responding to these calls? It's the 21 to 27-year-old police officers who are some of the few people who are both willing and able to do this job. In my career as a police officer, I've been a patrol officer, field training officer, an instructor at our academy, and a patrol supervisor. I know there are good and bad problems to have. Our agency used to have a good problem. When I applied, the nearly 1,800 people who applied alongside me, most of those people got letters from the agency. Thank you for your application, but there are more qualified applicants. Please try again. It's not like that anymore. We get a fraction of those applications to each vacancy on the occasion those vacancies come open. And we can't fill the spots we're allocated. You heard Mike Shire tell you that we're 30% understaffed. For those in this room, we're allocated about 800 cops. We should have closer to 1,100 to 1,200. That's how understaffed we are. So minimum standards aren't the same as performance standards. Now we hire anybody who meets the minimum. And although our training standards are some of the best in the state, we still can't fill classes. And we have outside agencies fighting to send their officers through our training academy because the quality of training is so good. So we're training cops to the best standard in the state to go work elsewhere. That's a problem. The FOP has, time and time again, extended our hand to you, saying, this is our problem, help us fix it. We are begging you to work with us and solve these problems facing our public safety officers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Lauren Pridgeon, and I serve as a patrol officer and on the board of directors for our county's Fraternal Order of Police. The definition of crisis, a time of intense difficulty, trouble, or danger, a time when difficult or important decisions must be made. Some synonyms include catastrophe, emergency, disaster, distress. This is where our police department finds itself. This is where we find ourselves. We are in a staffing crisis. Our department is focusing on 3 things right now: 911 calls, training new officers, and ensuring accountability. We are scaling back services. Our citizens can expect to see fewer officers at community events and fewer officers in schools. Our detectives may not be able to investigate all of the crimes against our community due to their increasing caseloads. Our staffing, it has never been good, and we have been told to do more with less. We were told to just hold on a little bit longer. We were told staffing would go up and things would get better. We feel like we were lied to. We are still doing more with fewer officers than our neighboring jurisdictions, and it shows. We do up to 50% more work per officer than other jurisdictions, but we don't get paid 50% more. And for far too many officers, it's just too much. If they're able, they retire, or they just resign to look for work elsewhere. And we're at a breaking point. We are in crisis. We are all here to make sure that you understand this. We are all here to make sure that our community understands this, because I think we have unintentionally fooled everyone into thinking that we can sustain this accelerated pace indefinitely. We cannot, and we are not. It's just not possible. The walls are buckling, and we are seeing a wave of auto thefts, carjackings, robberies. You know this. We need the resources, we need the people to keep our community and our county safe. Please support your police officers. We need your support now more than ever. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Ford, and I sit on the board of directors for the Anne Arundel County Fraternal Order of Police. I became a police officer 5 years ago. After 5 years, half my academy class is already gone. Our police department has hired hundreds of officers every few years, but we can't retain them. That means we have to hire someone new. Do you want the job? You have to pass a written exam, a physical agility test, a background investigation, a polygraph investigation, an oral interview, a medical exam, a psychological exam, then you start training. Law, driving, shooting, communication, writing, self-defense, the list goes on and on for 8 months. Then you graduate. You have to have a no-quit mindset. You have to be disciplined but caring, alert yet compassionate. You have to know the law better than the lawyers. You need to be able to defend yourself and others. You have to be right. There are consequences for being wrong. The consequences are public and they are painful. You will be watched and monitored everywhere you go. You'll be scrutinized and criticized. You'll work long hours and in bad weather. You will see death and destruction. You will comfort those in pain and chase those who cause pain. We want the best of the best standing beside us. We want the best of the best standing up for our community. Please, County Executive, support your police officers.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dwayne Rayner. I sit on the board of the Anne Arundel County Fraternal Order of Police. We spoke a few nights ago about active bystandership. We beg you to intervene, to step up and change the trajectory of our police department's downward staffing spiral. We have told you that we are cutting services, and it's no secret with our department right now. Our command staff has been working feverishly to recognize our agency's staffing so we can provide essential services. We're trying to reduce the harm this will cause to our community. We're trying to minimize the harm that our staffing crisis is causing to our citizens. I hope by now you come to realize the depth and gravity of our situation. Are you going to apologize to the citizens when we tell them that we can't investigate their crime that they are reporting? We just don't have the staff. We are prioritizing the worst offenses and the crimes that we can definitely solve first. We're sorry. It wasn't our choice to be here. We have been trying to tell everyone we've been trying to avoid this situation that we're in presently. Our officers are upset. Many of the lives are about to be turned upside down as they get shifted from the assignments they love to jobs that need to be done. More stress, more danger, and more time away from their families. We have been waiting for a county executive to intervene, to really put some weight into the problem. We were hopeful you were the county executive, but here we are now. You have precious little time left to have a real positive effect, and you will be out of office when our crime rate skyrockets, and they will. When our agency withers, and it will. Police officers are held accountable for their failures. How will the citizens of Anne Arundel County hold you? Every problem is an opportunity in disguise. We have an opportunity to secure the future of our county's public safety. Please don't let this opportunity pass us all by. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening again. My name is O'Brien Atkinson. I'm the president of the Anne Arundel County Fraternal Order of Police. And I'm also a proud resident of District 5. Mr. County Executive, Ms. Fiedler, I've proudly represented our law enforcement professionals for over 20 years, and I watched as Janet Owens, John Leopold, and Steve Shue set our agency up for disaster. I talk about how Janet Owens laid off 16 police officers. They were from Sergeant Eric Trumbauer's academy class. He was selected to stay. Before her election, Janet Owens said the greatest weakness of our police department was staffing and technology. After the election, there was a perceived budget deficit. She not only fired those 16 officers, she terminated 10 police cadets and abolished the cadet program. Then they canceled the next 3 academy classes for a combined 68 total officers lost. Over 100 officers at that time were eligible to retire. Today we have 176 officers eligible to retire. That's 23% of our current staff. Back then, the average suburban county in the nation had 27 officers per 10,000 citizens, and we had 13 per 10,000. Today, we have even less. Less than half the national average, taking on double the workload. Our county government has failed to budget for and hire enough police officers to serve the needs of our county. We didn't have budget town halls back then, so we purchased full-page ads in the Capitol and Baltimore Sun to educate our citizens. It didn't go over well. Years later, Leopold addressed the issue by reducing our budget staffing by 60 positions. And Steve Shue added positions, but actually reduced the number of officers in this county. We have never been permitted to dig our way out of this hole. Mr. Pittman, we know you support public safety, You ran on a platform saying as much. Our officers are exhausted out there. They're putting their lives on hold while they work day in and day out for this county. Where are we going to be 20 years from now? I'm afraid we might be considered just another suburb of Baltimore City. Thank you.
Thank you.
Make sure I adjust this mic. I'm a little shorter than most of the other people up there. Good evening. My name is Ian Priest, and other than the military assignments, I've lived in Anne Arundel County, District 5, my entire life. I've been a police officer for the last 17 years here in the county, and I'm an active member of Fraternal Order of Police. I'd like to start off by saying thank you to County Executive Pittman, Councilwoman Fiedler, for your gracious support when I was injured in the line of duty. As you may remember, on February 5th, 2020, I and Detective Ballard were shot while attempting to apprehend a homicide suspect who had killed a man in a Glen Burnie home earlier that day. The incident resulted in me in being shot in the right arm, destroying my humerus bone and a grazing wound to my right abdomen. My vehicle had 14 bullet holes in it from 3 different shooting engagements where the suspect attempted to shoot me as I pursued him that night. 2 of these rounds went through my headrest, and many say I'm lucky to be alive. Early into my hospitalization, there was talk that I may lose my right arm, and then the surgeries could save it. My right arm from my shoulder to my elbow is held together by metal rods, pins, and screws. I remember starting a year-long physical therapy program, starting with me learning how to use my fingers again, to pick up a pencil, and all the way to an 8-hour intensive work hardening sessions that I did every day. I could have easily taken a medical retirement, but I did not. Every day, I live in pain, as there are still bone fragments moving around inside my arm, numbness from nerve damage in my hands and fingers, and scars that I'll have for the remainder of my life. This was an extremely painful process, but I was committed, and still am committed, 100% in order to get back to work, to do a job that I love, and for the community that I love. Today, both Detective Ballard and I are working full duty with our police department. After surgery, I remember I was greeted by you in the hospital, Mr. Pittman. I'm humbled that you would take the time to meet with me, and I remember you saying if there was anything you could do to let you know. I personally don't need anything, sir, but my brothers and sisters do. In the short 17 years I've been with the agency, I've never seen the staffing crisis to what it is today, and I say crisis. My other brothers and sisters have provided the numbers and have articulated what will happen if we don't adequately fund our police department. What I want to tell you is that same commitment that I had getting back to work is what I see demonstrated by our officers each and every day. I'm praying for you, as I know you have very hard decisions to make, and it's from very worthwhile causes. But I implore you to do the right thing, to return the same level of commitment to our police officers and ensure public safety is not forgotten in this budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Now we'll ask Brian Halslander, Susanna Weedman, Samantha Zline, and Joe Advinola to come forward.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Brian Holtzlander, representing Anne Arundel County professional firefighters. It's true that we are living in challenging times. Our healthcare system lies in ruins. Hospital wait times are some of the longest they've ever been, deadlocking our ambulances at the hospital and prohibiting us from responding to the emergencies and to the people that need us. The mental health crisis and the car accidents and the fires and everything else, it goes up every year, and we are struggling to meet the demand. But I hope to tell a story today of progress. You can't do what we do without thinking that you can make it better, that if you fight and you fight hard, that you can make it better. The 5th District has been historically one of the most poorly served in the county. I know this. I was with a paramedic at the Arnold station for a number of years, and I covered from the Bay Bridge to Benfield Avenue, one advanced life support ambulance for all those neighborhoods and for all those people. I know what it's like to look in the face of people who have waited too long for the life-saving care that they deserve. However, by working together and with your support and with the support of everyone here, we have resolved some of those problems. Now there's advanced life support ambulance at Jones Station. There are 3 firefighters in the Cape instead of the 2 that we started with. And there are now 3 firefighters at the Early Heights Station instead of the 2, which makes all of us safer. But we still have a long ways to go to the 4 that is the national standard. So that said, and in closing, we need your support to continue our progress to obtaining the resources that we need and hiring the people and training the professionals to keep you safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Samantha Zline, and I am the branch manager of the Severna Park Library, one of the 2 libraries in District 5, along with the Broadneck branch. Last year, more than 250,000 people visited our 2 locations. In the last week, library staff at my branch have helped students find resources for school assignments. We've presented 6 kindergarten readiness programs, providing a safe place to play and learn with children and their caregivers, and we do this every single week. We hosted a special event for speed mentoring where we connected adult residents with small business owners and entrepreneurs for a chance to learn about different job opportunities in the areas and how they can succeed. And we helped customers learn how to download free ebooks and audiobooks to their devices. Here are a couple quotes from customers about the services that we offer at the library. I could never go wrong calling the library. No matter what it is, you all can help me. You have lots of resources and you know how to search for them. That was after helping her find the local food bank. We've had homeschooling families tell us that they love to come to the library, that staff are always there being welcoming and helpful. We had a display last year with books about Ramadan, and a young customer was delighted to see these materials on display and check them out to learn about a holiday that her friend celebrated. These types of interactions happen all the time in every branch in our library system. I'm here testifying this evening for our most pressing supplemental request, fair pay for library staff. Despite the tremendous impact library staff have on their communities and last year's market rate adjustments, 80% of staff are still not paid at the market rate. We aren't asking for funding for the highest salary in the state, but simply enough to make a true living wage. Anne Arundel County Public Library salaries are $20,000 less than some positions at nearby Baltimore or Prince George's County systems. We have staff who commute long distances, take second jobs, or get roommates so they can afford to work for the library. Some are one medical crisis away or major unexpected expense from a financial collapse. We're seeking $1.4 million to bring those employees up to the market rate so we can ensure fairness, retain valuable colleagues, and attract the best candidates to our system. I'd like to thank County Executive Pittman and Councilwoman Fiedler for their support of market rate adjustments last year and urge them to finish the job by fully funding this year's request. And I encourage everyone in the audience tonight to visit the Severna Park Library. We've made lots of changes recently, shifting the entire space around to make more room for children to play and learn, for people to study and work, and when it's nice and warm like today, a lovely outdoor space where people can enjoy some musical instruments. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Test, test. Good evening. My name is Sue Weedman. I am an Anne Arundel County volunteer at Anne Arundel County Animal Care and Control. I am here to advocate for the replacement of the shelter, which was built in the year 2000. Although a 24-year-old building doesn't seem that old, both our county and our shelter are far different today. About 120,000 more people live here now, and that means more pets. At least 53,000 more dogs and cats than 24 years ago. That by itself substantially increases the workload for animal care and control. As important is how the shelter's policies have changed. Shockingly, When the shelter was built 24 years ago, all pets were euthanized after just 5 days if they were not adopted or reclaimed. This included kittens and puppies, and even if there were plenty of empty cages. Dogs who looked like a pit bull could not be adopted at all. Today, no deadline is put on how long an adoptable pet can stay at the shelter. Recently, we celebrated the adoption of a dog, a pit bull mix, who has been there for 132 days. Longer stays, of course, means the shelter has more pets in its care than it did back when all animals died after 5 days. One other important thing has happened in the past 24 years. The national standards of care for shelter pets have vastly improved. It used to be acceptable to warehouse 50 dogs on cold concrete floors in one huge, extremely loud room without sunlight. It no longer is, but that is what is occurring. It may only be 24 years old, but this shelter is out of date. Our county's homeless pets deserve better, and the taxpayer expects it, and I thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening, County Exec Pittman and Councilwoman Fiedler. My name is Joe Divinola, President, Anne Arundel County Professional Firefighters, Local 1563. We operate in 31 fire stations in the county, in which only 5 stations meet the current NFPA minimum standards of staffing 4 firefighters responding on an apparatus. Year after year, I've spoken about how understaffed this fire department is compared to surrounding jurisdictions that leave with 4 or 5 firefighters on each apparatus. We had a chance the last couple of years to fix this problem, and with the federal SAFER grant, which pays wages for new firefighters for over 2 years. But this administration did not want to incur cost after the 2 years. Well, now that cost has gone up, not only for staffing, but for capital budgets like building new fire stations to replace old, decaying buildings. The cost to build new apparatus in the operational budget has almost doubled over the last year to replace older apparatus. Your professional firefighters have done more with less, just like our brothers, the police. Today, as of today, we have 51 firefighters out on injury. Some of them might never come back from their injuries. We rely on our brothers and sisters to have our back on every fire, not luck. There is no monetary amount that will replace any of my members or any resident in Anne Arundel County. I'm happy to see that the priority of adding millions of dollars to the rainy day fund is done year after year, and our AAA bond rating. What good is that when our residents' well-being is not a priority? Take a look outside, it's raining. Now's the time to spend the money to keep our residents safe by adding firefighters, police, and teachers to educate our children. I think our residents deserve better than what you're offering.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Kathy Lane, Nicole Disney Bates, and Russell Leone.
Good evening, County Executive Pittman and Councilmember Fiedler. My name is Kathy Lane, and I'm a founding consultant and the owner's representative for New Village Academy Public Charter School. New Village Academy was approved last August to operate a public charter high school in Anne Arundel County by unanimous vote of the Board of Education. Dr. Bedell enthusiastically endorsed our application because it serves an urgent need in our county and in Annapolis in particular. Across the country and here locally, there's a crisis of student disengagement in high school. Too many young people, especially from marginalized communities, don't see a future for themselves that high school can help them reach. New Village Academy seeks to change this by ensuring our students feel known, connected, empowered, and accountable so that they can take charge of their education and their future. We will open for 150 students, growing to 250 students at Westfield Annapolis Mall, helping to reinvent the mall as a hub of community interaction. New Village Academy will be the home to Anne Arundel's first school-based health center, where students and families will have access to physical, mental health, and dental health services, even if they are undocumented or underinsured. New Village Academy tackles some of the most urgent needs of the community: the opportunity gap, career and technical education pathways to meet the demands of the blueprint, youth disengagement, and our outdated factory model of high school. Building our facility is expensive. We must meet all the requirements for a much larger public school, but unlike many other states, in Maryland, the capital costs for its construction are entirely the responsibility of our small school. Fortunately, we were selected as one of the most innovative public schools of 2024 by New School Venture Fund, which has provided us with some much-needed startup funding. We also have raised more than $1.2 million locally, including support from Westfield Mall. But the help of the Anne Arundel County government is much needed. We appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Nicole, and I'm the president of the Teachers Association of Anne Arundel County. What a mouthful. I want to say thank you. Thank you for our 6% COLA, funding the back steps, and your support. Your support for teachers has helped with a difficult problem in our nation: vacancies, specifically teacher vacancies. Last year, we were at nearly 200 vacancies. This year, we're at 118, which is a step in the right direction. But 118 vacancies is 118 teachers missing. It's 118 holes being filled by others. Vacancies mean that students don't have a permanent teacher, that permanent relationship. And now we're addressing safety issues. I don't think we have to wonder why. Our students need those relationships. Our teachers, they need them too. They're missing a colleague, a teammate who helps them grow, helps them succeed. But instead of support, our teachers are being asked to do more with less. This will continue to lead to our vacancy cycle. One in, one out. But you have the power to allocate a livable COLA, a COLA that helps us keep up. We have the path in place to be the best school system, but we have to keep our schools fully staffed, because fully staffed schools are strong schools, they're safe schools, and they lead to strong students and strong communities. So please help us keep up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Russell Leone. I'm a proud elementary school teacher at Severna Park Elementary, teaching 4th grade right down the street. This evening, I do want to talk about our teachers and our educators. You have done a fantastic job of helping us to increase morale by closing back steps that were plaguing us for a decade. Right now, we need to make sure that we're taking care of our educators through fully educating fully funding our education budget. COLAs are important to all of our staff. We were able to close some of those gaps by accepting lower COLAs during those years because we knew it was already a large bill to fund. Right now, we still need to make sure that while current asks are in line with current predictions, we had past years where we were like 1%, 0%, whereas the cost of livings were like 4 or 5%. And even last year, as you heard our president mention, we had a 6% last year, which we were grateful for, but cost of living was at 8%. So we really need to make sure that we're funding the education ask because we want to keep our teachers here. Teachers love being here, but we also need to make sure that we have that living wage to keep all of us really happy and doing what we do for our students every day. So thank you very much. I'm keeping this short because I know you've heard a lot of people this evening. So thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'd like to open the floor to anybody who would like to speak, would like to give testimony, but did not sign up and has not already spoken. Is there anyone who would like to approach the mic? Okay. Seeing none, if you do decide that you have some comments that you want to share, again, the email address is budget-comments@aacounty.org. Your remarks, your comments, your contributions are welcome there. At this time, I'm going to turn it back over to our elected officials for closing remarks, and we'll start with Councilmember Fiedler.
I wasn't ready to go first. Wow, what a way to wrap up the evening with some powerful testimony from our public safety officials. So I am going to start there, actually. I'm glad somebody mentioned SROs for the record this evening. I started getting the emails at about 1 o'clock this afternoon. I know it's a huge concern. I know how much our students and our staff at our schools across the county value our SROs. So you have me. You had me at hello. You had me when you walked up and said all of your statements. Get a little emotional about the police department, if you can't tell. So I will skip around a little bit to get my emotions in check. I'm known as the councilwoman who cries. I'm proud of that label. I think it keeps me humble and keeps me grounded. I want to talk to some of the points that were brought up here today. I have some great news. I hope you don't mind if I share this in advance. Dividing Creek, this doesn't happen all the time. This is probably the first time in the 6 years that I've got up here, and I think the county executive has got up here at town halls, that we can say it's happening this year. It is happening right this year, so you don't have to wait. There will be some milling done and pavement, but I want to thank you for your advocacy, both at the council level, with the county executive, with the Department of Public Works. You stayed on it. I think it was a priority that just took a little longer than anticipated to get to the surface. Sometimes that does happen. Let's talk about park. You're very welcome. Someone mentioned in their testimony. Oh yes, Karen is still here, Karen Henry. I do want to mention someone's briefly skimmed over land acquisition. I'll let the county executive go into that a little more, but there was a community organization that recognized property that was for sale, commercial property, and Anne Arundel County was able to work to acquire that land. It's in a really critical area of Route 2. So I think the county executive deserves credit for seeing that through with the department. Let me go through here. Cypress, Cattail Creek, yes, along it, right against Cattail Creek is where that property is. Mr. Miller knows it well. Cypress Creek, right now, it does lie with the state. There is going to be some federal funding coming. The county executive may want to touch on that a little more. It's in the process. I am well aware of it. You guys are great for coming out here every year. This is your second year. Hopefully you do not have to come out here for another budget. So I appreciate you sticking with us. Ms. Paley, I thank you for recognizing your partners. I volunteered at My Brother's Pantry. I went to their grand opening of their new facility. They recognize how critical the food bank is to serving the 5th District and all of Anne Arundel County. So thank you for everything that you do. Save Our Trees. I am so glad you mentioned this. We have a bike trail, if you don't know, coming to the Broadneck Peninsula. And you can see as they are going through and clearing some pathway for the trail that we have a considerable amount of forestry that is wrapped in vines. So if you are so interested, please reach out to this organization, volunteer your time, because there's only one way to get rid of those nasty vines, and it's manpower. So thank you for bringing that up and addressing that. and I'll definitely look out for some work in the future. So that brings me to my final remarks. I appreciate you all taking the time for me to get myself composed. Our first responders do jobs that none of us could do. I could never do it. I would never do it. I've done Fire Ops 101. It was an incredible experience. I hope the fire department does it again for the elected officials, because you have no idea how hard it is to carry all that stuff in your back and go into a burning building or try to cut a car open on asphalt when it's 105 degrees outside. So thank you for everything that you do. I want to make sure to recognize you all. For our police department, our police officers could never do it, and it alarms me that we are where we are. So I will be paying close attention during this budget. The county council in the last budget, we were able to get additional funds through the supplemental budget for additional positions. Let's work together again. Let's work with the administration. We don't want to be a suburb of the city. We see on the news what's happening every day. Let's work together to fix this because you have my eyes and my ears entirely. So really quickly, and I know I've talked probably longer than anybody anticipated, the county council, what happens when the budget comes to the county council? We get emails through the entire process. Please add this. Please add this. This wasn't in the budget. The county council can only make cuts. So what does that mean? It means that if we want something to be added back into the budget, we have to find something to move out of the budget. That is a very challenging exercise because every dollar in that budget is a dollar that's going to something that is incredibly important. So we work with our audit office to find ways to adjust, I don't know, an estimate that was off by a couple $1 million or a couple $100,000. And then we take that money that the auditor has identified and the administration agrees can be corrected. And that is where we get our adjusted revenue that we can put back into the budget for a supplemental budget. The supplemental budget is all of those things that weren't in the proposed budget that we, the council, work together with the administration to get some of those asks back in, but we don't add it, the administration adds it. So there has to be 4 council members that agree this is a good add, and the administration has to be willing to work with us. To the administration's credit, they have put everything that we have asked, not everything, actually, where's Mr. Trumbauer? Not everything, but to the ability that they can with the money that we have. So that is why I want to make sure that you all know when you come to us, when the budget is released, we can only cut. So know that it's a hard job, and the 7 of us are committed to doing what's best for Anne Arundel County, and we hear you, and that's why we come out to these town halls. So thank you for coming out to this town hall.
All right, how long do you want to stay? What time is it? I do have a lot of notes, and I do want to go through a fair number of things, but if you need to go, you can go. So I'm going to start with library system. Thank you for being here. I've always said that libraries are like community centers in this county and provide services that we never thought libraries would be doing. I was there giving out Chromebooks yesterday at a library. And I know that librarians are not paid as much as they should be. And the compensation study was a useful tool. We put money towards it last year. I'm hoping we can continue to do that. We need to, some of our librarians have master's degrees and are working for far less money than you would think. We're going to continue that work. Skip Auld is a great director over there, and thank you for your service to the county. Annapolis Immigration Justice Network, I just want to say that this organization is small but mighty. We have a labor shortage in our county, and we have people who have come here who are awaiting court dates. And the fact that over 90% of your cases actually win means that those are folks who, by law, should be able to work here and stay here, and you help them stay here. And the fact that you're doing kids, often unaccompanied, is essential. So we will not forget you. I wish we could do more. The Dividing Creek Road, that's an example of the road and court. That's an example, I think it was 2 years ago at least, you came to constituent services, community engagement constituent services, and yeah, you were lower on the DPW list for when you would actually get full repaving. And they got out there and you showed them, and then they agreed with you that it really was in terrible condition and no more patches, please. And I know it's taken a while, but this construction year is what we're being promised, so we'll hold you to it, right? But thank you, Karen Henry, for being here and checking the information as in real time so that we could give you that answer. Folks with the Friends of Trails, thank you for being out there and supplementing the work of Rec and Parks. Thank you for advocating. I'm sure that Jessica Lays over here thanks you for advocating for more positions for her team. And while we're talking about volunteers who are working out there, the Save Our Trees folks, thank you. I believe that we lose almost as many trees to ivy as we do to development, which is a pretty sad state of affairs. And it's a lot of work to get out there with those loppers. We did put money in the Rec and Parks budget to do a plan for invasives, particularly on parkland, but we have other departments working on it too. We have our forestry folks, and we are having conversations about how to, now that we have that plan, how to continue that work going forward and work with the organizations that are volunteering to get that work done. You'll be hearing more about that soon. For the Veterans Affairs Commission, thank you for staying. They have done amazing work pushing this county to better serve our veterans. The number is 410-222 what? Oh, come on, somebody's got to look. Can somebody look up the Veterans Affairs number? It's the hotline. We finally have a full-time position, and we have been continuing to try to improve the service. They have been advocating for a brick and mortar building like some other counties have, and now they're talking about Crownsville. We're going to continue that conversation. But thank you for the Veterans Affairs Commission is one of the most active commissions in the county and doing great work. School health staff, thank you for showing up. I know some of you left. I know you were in the back there. This has been, I remember when they were talking about privatizing school health nurses and having some company come in and do it because they could do it cheaper and it was too expensive. Think about what they're doing in our schools, and it is not too expensive. It is very important. I know there's been a study underway about providing benefits. We would love for none of you to be contractual and all of you to be with full-time with benefits, and I know that is the goal. I'm hoping we can get a whole lot closer. Animal care and control, I think I've told you that we are really looking big picture at the way the whole operation is run and managed, and there are staffing shortages, there are staffing positions that we've added, but I think we can do better for our animals. So we're going to be having some big conversations in the next year that we'll include you in. The Cypress Creek sidewalk folks, you organized very effectively. There you are. In fact, I think you did it right before the election, if I'm not wrong. We came, yeah, candidate forum kind of thing, very effective. We have it in our budget. SHA has it as a project. SHA says it's in design, but SHA is also cutting the state budget. So we're going to have to stay vigilant to get that actually through and get that done. And if we have to go to the governor, we will, and I'll go with you. So. The bike safety and the bike trails and the work, John Corrin hit the nail on the head, gotten some great grants, closing those deals, acquiring the land, doing the trails, getting them built is a long process, and we need to move faster. It's incredible, the bureaucratic obstacles to that. But I was not on the trip to the Netherlands with the mayor and the county and the city council and all of them. Maybe I should have been, but I'm already a believer, so we'll continue that work as well. I'm glad that somebody brought up transit and how great it would be to have a BRT lane right on Ritchie Highway, having better stops. We are working on all of those things. Our Department of Transportation is great, and we know the problem was there before, and the problem continues. And now we have a food council that is really directing the strategy overall through the county. But most of that food comes from the food bank, which is at Crownsville. And they do an incredible job. Thank you, Leah. And I have said that, as we get through this fiscal cliff, where we lose a lot of that federal funding, we have to remember that the poverty that exists in our county, the third of our population that is considered the Alice population, the folks basically paycheck to paycheck, who may get an eviction notice after they lose their job because there's a federal government shutdown or whatever the issue is of the year, that we can't in this county leave those people behind. So looking forward to your ambitious plans and making sure that you have the food for all of those organizations that distribute it. Thank you to the folks at Early Heights. I know you've had a few difficult, we didn't get the federal grant that we tried to get for you guys, and had a little bit of a stumble at the county council recently. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. So thank you for your service. Fire, we have 31 stations with dedicated professional firefighters in them who are every day saving lives. And while we have made some progress and we have used the federal SAFER grant, we need to continue that work. There's a long-term plan and we have to stick to the long-term plan. But thank you for your service. And thank you for the amazing Italian food that you served at your dinner the other night. They do some great fundraisers and they give all the money away as well. So thank you to the union. And our teachers, TAC, all school staff, thank you for being organized. Thank you for the positions that you've taken. Thank you for agreeing to the increase in starting teacher pay last year and supporting that, even though it created compression that we're going to have to deal with in future years, so that the starting teachers are actually getting a little bit more than some of the people above them. But thank you for supporting that, because it's helping to solve the problem. And then last, because I put you last because you had the most, and it's really been probably the most emotional part of the night. It has been in the last couple of budget town halls as well, and what they're saying is absolutely true. I said when I came in that I wasn't going to be like the last county executive who promised to get to the 820 sworn officers that the International Association of Police Chiefs said we needed to be at, but that was 8 years ago. And we were going to get there. We were under 700 officers when I took office. This was 5 years ago. We got over 800 in the second year. We got up to, I think, 770 and then just over 800. And I thought, wow, we did it. And we're going to go even further. The problem was it was the moment in time, and it was easier to hire officers. Then it dropped for the last 3 years. We were at 761 last year. We're at 766 right now, I'm told. So we're kind of holding steady right now. But this is as demand and call volume has increased, and what the command staff has said is that the real crisis right now, and the reason it's being felt, is that we have to get more on patrol. So we've got really important parts of the police department that are doing work that is not patrol, and patrol is suffering, having to work overtime. And so now they're asking officers who have not been on patrol to go back onto patrol, which is, that's when you realize you have a real problem, and there's going to be a real morale problem as a result of that. So how do you get more applicants? I mean, we have over 800 positions. Those 24 positions was great to create in the budget. We could create another 200 positions in the budget, but if we're not getting officers hired and into the academy and trained, or stealing them from other departments, which we do try to do laterally, we're not going to grow the department, and we're not solving the problem. So we did have some good contracts that brought pay up. There are 3 departments that have a higher starting salary than us. There's only one other department, though, that has a $20,000 hiring bonus. So with the hiring bonus, we are the second highest in starting salary, but that's just for the first year. But still, we're in the top 4, which is way better than we used to be. I want to be the number 1. I want to have the highest starting salary and the highest salaries. We're going to have some conversations about how we can pull that off. But I met this morning with the command staff, and the recruiter, the leader of our team of recruiters, was there, and I asked a lot of direct questions. What do these applicants care about? What do you say when you're trying to hire them? You know, we have billboards now that say 62,100, whatever it is, starting salary, $20,000 hiring bonus, and that is what people pay attention to: the starting salary and that bonus. It's cash, so we'll be talking about that, and it may be a difficult conversation, but it's. I don't want to leave this office without at least getting to that goal. And you know, you talk about the 11 or 1,200, and they're absolutely right. I looked up all these average per capita sizes of police departments, and we are very low. In fact, I think we're the lowest per capita in the state. Now we can say we're also the best damn police department in the country, which is what our chief says. We also did in the CALEA, you know, the accreditation for the police department got amazing scores, and they were saying, you know, other police departments should be like you. So that says some great things about the people we have in our police department. It has some great things about our community. We do have lower crime rates, but we clearly need more officers. And the only way we can't force them to come work for us. We have to do a better job of recruitment, a better job of telling the story, and make sure that we have the competitive compensation. So that's our commitment, that's our goal, that's what we're trying to do. And we're working with the command staff, and we'll continue to work with the union on it. I mean, you guys know how it works, where you know, I talked to them about, you know, why does it say wait until February, and that's when we start hiring again? And it's like, well, we have to be honest about the way it actually works. Let's make sure we at least get them in the pipeline. We know that, you know, the academy classes are not, we've reduced the amount of time from 9 months to 6 months to get through the system, I'm told. But we will meet with you as a union as well with your ideas about how to recruit and how to make the system work better. You know, we included the union even in the hiring of the chief. So it's not like there's no communication there. But I will freely admit that so far we've failed to get there, and we've got a problem. So let's work together to fix that and everything else in this county. I wish there was more money, but thank you for your advocacy, and we will all work to put the puzzle together. And if we have to do more revenue, we may have to do more revenue. That is still to be determined. Thanks.